Well, hello everyone. Here I show you right here. I'll talk about for retirement right here, and talking about reading to somebody about a source of retirement, and like everybody else might even say that when we do speak about retirement, then what exactly is it that's going through their minds so far as that the information that they need to know about and read about and all that, and you're all also thinking too that. There are a lot of things that they're just trying to understand about it, but still, talk about for more than 30 years of work experience, and then also other things to read about, and then just to be able to follow up with. But one thing I did want to mention right here, I talk about if you were born between 1949 and 1961, so it sure seems that way that when we do speak about retirement, that we're also thinking about that anybody who's trying to get approved at retirement, trying to get their retirement going, and trying to do the basic research, right? And that's why it sure seems that way. Yes or no questions right here, and that's why it seems like that. To where that every time we do think about retirement, that you might think that yeah, you're a little bit too young, really to be collecting it, right? But at the same time, though, it's like those who are trying to get onto retirement, and anybody who's just trying to figure out okay how the system works and everything. But at the time, you always want to know too that it's like yeah, if you spend about maybe 3 hours trying to put together the information and maybe trying to do the research of the information and everything, and that's why it seems like that the reason why that you're gathering all this information up right here is so that way that yeah, the person who's trying to get approved and trying to get the retirement and everything all work on that they look forward to getting the money. I'm like, oh yeah, they look forward to where they can actually receive a payment. They receive money in the mail whenever they're able to work it out with their retirement, right? But a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we do speak about retirement, that a lot of stuff that you see right here, yeah, a lot of it seems to be confusing, right? And so that's why it sure seems that way that every time we do speak about retirement, that we're also thinking is toward okay, yeah, well, retirement. Like yeah, you talk to people who have questions about their retirement, and then maybe if they're asking you about what you can provide, and then read the paperwork to somebody who's trying to figure out how to be able to get that retirement going, and so that's why it seems like this toward it. Yeah, your stuff is visible and all that, but one thing that I did want to mention right here of talking about the estimate right here, spending the 30 minutes just to be able to get the estimate you get there for the retirement fund and other things about retirement. But at the time, it sure seems that way to where they talk about for employment, more than 30 years of qualifications and eligibility for January of the new year right here. So at the time, it seems like that yeah, how many senior citizens are going to be asking for somebody just to kind of read the information about what all that if you find more than what you knew that you qualified for. So let's just say that on average that if you were to be doing the research about something like that, then 102 that hey that whenever it comes to reading to somebody about your retirement, right? And you want to know too that how do you know if you qualify or not for that, and then knowing about how you'll be able to start whenever it comes to getting information together about your retirement, and I can tell everybody here that it goes by the categories, right? To where if you were born between 1949 and 1961, and I got here's the date of birth right here, and just answer a few questions right there. So it's like, yeah, a lot of information right there that's collected, right? And just want to know too that yeah, so a lot of this information right here that would be memorized. I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of information right here that would be visible right here, but still, it sure seems that way that anybody might even say that, well, really, that a lot of the information that's recorded right here, and just thinking as to word that if anybody who's going to be reading and listening to all this, and they're likely want to know too, what exactly all this means right here, what exactly is that right there? I'm like, well, really, that tell anybody that they're doing the research right here, and that you actually were taking notes during the time, and you were actually trying to put together the information right here. Well, hey, if you're trying to read that information to somebody, and you spend at least 30 minutes trying to put it together, just explain to somebody about what is it that their qualifications are, what is it that they're eligible for. But anyway, but talk about right here is like whenever it comes to retirement, that the reason why that a lot of that information right there that is collected, and like anybody might even say that that for the most part that whenever you do work on your taxes, though, that whenever you work on your taxes, a lot of information to be verified, and then just to be able to verify the information, right? But still, it's like I talk about for I am waiting, patiently for the response. Be be willing to for the maternity. So yeah, be with momentarily. Momentarily is the word I was saying. But anyway, but it's like yeah, that when we do speak about any source of retirement, it sure seems that way. That it's like that yeah, that even if the message is going to say something like, I have something special to give to you, it is to be delivered. It might be, you may find more than what you expected. So a lot of times it seems like that that after you spend 3 hours working on an application, it sure seems that way. That it's like, yeah, well, really, that half the time you want to know too that a lot of these applications, quite a few of them, that that some of them only take about 10 minutes to fill them out, and compared to it takes you 3 hours to put it all together. And that's why it sure seems that way. That you tell anybody who's trying to apply, or anybody who's trying to work on something, and I want to know too that it seems like it took less than half the time that it took, compared to for what you were able to find out, doing the research and everything. But at the time, you're 102 that, yeah, well, really, that a lot of stuff right here that is considered to be important. And that's why it seems like to where that when we do speak about retirement, though, that you're thinking too is toward it, yeah, well, retirement, that's for the senior citizens most of the time, right? That a lot of that stuff that don't even apply to you, but still, that you don't, you get nothing. Well, she gets something just because she's retired or something like that. But I'm just showing everybody here this a lot of these notes that I've put together right here of like I talk about for the video that I was recording, and you can see right here all the information I was putting together right here. But talking about for the portable pocket partner right here. But really that when we do speak about retirement most of the time, it sure seems that way. That yeah, a lot of that stuff that you're trying to tell the senior citizens, though, and you're thinking as toward it, yeah, well, really, that there's a reason why that maybe it goes by certain categories about if you were born between 1949 and 1961. But really, though, you're 102 that yeah, whenever you do read this information to a senior citizen, what exactly is it that you're trying to tell that senior citizen exactly? And like I say that, yeah, you could be qualified, or you could be eligible for this amount, per month or per year or something like that. So a lot of stuff that we hear about, especially for the tax credit, especially for the parents who are raising a child, and you're 102 that a lot of the benefits that are provided now, and you're wondering toward it, on the tax year that that a date of birth, your birthday would mark something important, right? It's going to be mark important to where if you were born, between 1949 and 61, if your birthday was of 1962, then there will be information about that. And like anybody might even say that maybe that's another reason why that a birthday is another reason to why that to kind of keep that keep that information safe and secure, right? And so that's why it sure seems that way. That every time we do speak about birthdays and maybe other events, something like that on an application, but half the time you're always thinking too is to where when we speak about retirement, that retirement is another way of saying this to where really that every time you think about that though that you're thinking is toward anybody you know those who are collecting retirement and those who are senior citizens though that you spend the time just to be able to go over that application, just to be able to go over the information with the senior citizen. And I want to know too that really the purpose of that is because that they are to be that senior citizen were to be receiving money in the mail, right? They're going to be receiving money in the mail. But then on the other hand, that what you're trying to tell them is that really that up to 5 business days or so, just to be able to verify the information. But at the same time, it sure seems that way that's why a lot of that information has to be recorded on a transcript, like what we see here, just to explain to everybody about what all that they're looking at right here. And I want to know that hey, that a lot of the stuff that's right here, that's mentioned right here, I don't quite understand what you mean by that. But I tell you one thing, everybody, that whenever it comes to retirement, though, that anybody that might even say that retirement, if you can read to somebody about the portions of the application and then knowing about that the things that they can follow up with to do the research about that, and that's why it sure seems that way that every time we think about retirement, though, it's just a few yes or no questions right there. For I am waiting patiently for the response. So it's like, a lot of seniors might say really, that whenever you are waiting, though, that like the president would say too, that how often do you know that whenever you do apply for a job, how often is it to where that somebody's asking you to read this document to this person because they're not quite understanding what is it that they're looking at right here. What exactly is it that they're trying to follow up with everything. So that's why it seems like that whenever we do take down notes, a lot of times, like with me, like have right here, talk about with the portable pocket partner. That it's like every time I think about that is toward that if we're trying to use this as another reference to where if it's maybe veterans benefits or something like that, and you're warned toward for more than 30 years of work or something like that or eligibility, and you're 102, how can all that really be explained on just maybe one form of information right here? And you're 102, that is to where that whenever you do look at this information right here, and 102, that a lot of that stuff that's going to be on the paperwork, right, on the application or anything else that you're reviewing. And that's why it seems like as toward every time you're going to be on those meeting calls with a lot of those seniors, and they're going to probably tell you that could you read this to me, can you read this? And so really, that it sure seems that way that a lot of those seniors might say that please read this to me. So really, that is that maybe going to be one of our first jobs? When we think about that, the way we think about that though, is that when we do speak about jobs though, that you're probably thinking is toward whenever it comes to understanding about the retirement benefits and everything, you go ahead and read at least 4 or 5 pages to the senior citizens, and then just explain to them what is it that they're eligible for, and then things that they find out about what is it that they can receive. And you know for sure that whenever those senior citizens do receive a check in the mail for a certain amount, and like you want to know too that yeah, they receive a check every month for the amount of like, yeah, far as employment goes, right? And so that's why it seems like that, to where that whenever we do speak about application, though, and you're 102 that really that if you know anybody who is a senior citizen, and know if anybody who's on retirement, and then they're gonna maybe say that yeah, could you read this to me? Please explain to me what exactly is it that I'm looking at right here. Can you please explain column 1 and 2 to me? Can you please explain the first 2 paragraphs right here to me, and tell me what they are? And so that's another reason why that people may say that yeah, well, really that whenever we do speak about retirement, though, that can we also say is this, toward that yeah, you'll be receiving money in the mail, and you'll be receiving like, yeah, your special gift of a gift of kindness and appreciation, right? And that's why it sure seems that way, that they'll tell everybody that a lot of that information that you thought, like, from back in 1949 to 1961, a lot of it would probably be expired by now, right? But still, that we're talking about that. That's one of the reasons why that yeah, a lot of those yeah, anybody working in there in the I'm like, yeah, if it's tax offices or wherever, that you'll want to know too that that's maybe one of the reasons why that the date of birth, and then of course other information that is collected from the offices, and knowing about that how do you know if you are eligible and you are qualified for certain benefits? And that's why it seems like that to where that like everybody else might say that one way of the key factor to remember is to where if you write down the time right there from whenever you were working during the time from back in 1962, or maybe if it was back in 81, that whenever you were working it, that you go ahead and get into these discussions about the things that you can remember, and just be surprised at what you can remember, right? But at the same time, though, it sure seems that way, that thinking too that yeah, well, whenever it comes to retirement, though, you go ahead and read this. You'll also want to know too that why is it that it seems like it took half the time that compared to putting it all together, just to be able to solve the situation. But at the same time, it sure seems that way, that yeah, well, really, if people can actually see results and see improvement, though, then you'll know for sure that people may say is to where that you go ahead and leave a comment with somebody and saying is to where that, yeah, well, I think you did a good job, even though that yeah, the application that you put in earlier was for something else. It was for another position, but still, a lot of times it sure seems that way, that everybody else might say that whenever you're going to be working a job, though, that the first thing that you were working on actually was just putting together a copy. I'm like, yeah, that there was no copies that were made, and there was nothing provided about from those documents. So it sure seems that way, that yeah, that if you had to redo something, or if you had to verify something, and that's why it seems like is toward it whenever you do spend a lot of time working on something, that's why it seems like it could be very frustrating too. But at the same time, though, it's like, yeah, well, really, if you're trying to explain to the senior citizens about something that's on the application, it is, and one of those is going to be the date of birth, right? And you're thinking too that you know yeah, a lot of stuff that I don't quite understand, could you please explain that to me? And so that's why it seems that way, to where that every time we think about retirement, though, that yeah, you could still be young and still have work to do, and you can still, like everybody else might even say that every time we do think about retirement, though, that you can maybe think about is as toward that anything that you get in the mail, you may not be eligible for it, but somebody that you may know that could be eligible for it. So that's why they're like everybody in the media, like in the news, and anybody say that toward it that you would you please explain to somebody about what exactly is it? What exactly is it that we are looking at right here, and what have you found out so far? And the first thing that you're going to maybe say is toward it, yeah. Well, if it's not my job, then maybe that have somebody explain. Somebody who works up there in the offices to explain that. But on here at the same time, though, that somebody's going to maybe ask the question to where that, hey, I have been waiting patiently for this momentarily. So please explain what exactly is it that we're looking at right here. Can you please explain all that right there? And so that's why it seems like that to where that whenever we do speak about retirement, though, that it's like, yeah, the more information, maybe the better, right? And then maybe the more information provided to the senior, then maybe that the more chances are that they'll get approved the application, and that maybe that they'll get a congratulations, message on there, later on. To where if it takes about 5 days just to be able to get all the information together and just to be able to approve it, and so that's another reason about understanding and explaining about retirement.